Hello everyone, Aviation Cadet Shah for my channel Aviation Cadet 9936, and just heard the news on Berkadat's channel where she was talking about the leaks, the deliberate leaks of the preliminary report of the flight 171 that crashed on June 12th, 2025. And normally, as if you see my previous videos on AirBlue 202 or PK8303, and also the P-51 that crashed into B-2 bomber in Dallas. So I always talk about the media, how the brainwashing is done, how some parts of the reports are leaked step by step to give you the idea that what the final report is going to be about. And again, this is deliberate and very unfair and injustice for the dead pilots who already gave their lives in trying to in an attempt to save this aircraft full of 242 passengers. So that leak says that probably the pilots turned off the working engine. They had one engine failure upon takeoff once they rotated, and then they turned off the fuel switch to off position in order to restart the engine, and that got them into the crash. So what I said almost now 3 weeks ago on June 23rd, my hypothesis came out on June 20th, but the video was uploaded on June 23rd. So June 20th, the hypothesis. Now, why hypothesis? Because it's always a good way for your own learning that you should use the scientific ways to, judge any situation. So it's not that we want to win an argument or do something. No, it's just a thing which we do just to gain knowledge for ourselves. So for that, because I heard many experts on this one, and eventually it took me 8 days to present my own theory, and which turned out to be pretty much right at the moment. So let me add up to that story, that hypothesis quickly. Hypotheses become theories, and theories become facts, or they get denied. So this is how science works. So my theory now, let me tell you from the beginning what I think now, and I will put up all the things which make it more clear, because the previous videos are very long. So I don't want you to go and watch the previous videos and find the part where I said this, and well, I already uploaded on my shorts, so you can see that short video from my shorts. But my hypothesis is because of the pressure on the pilots, tremendous pressure imposed by Air India, they have to fly under the minimum equipment list. And Boeing 787-8 can fly on one engine. So I think that one engine was compromised. It was not giving full power. It was less than 50%, which is not enough to get to the takeoff. But at the takeoff, because of the high temperature, because of the overloading, not overloading, but still 195 tons to be very exact, the report will tell us clearly. But the takeoff run which the aircraft took, they needed that one faulty engine to assist with the takeoff. And once they got into the air prematurely, they tried to turn that faulty engine off, just to not to have more troubles with a faulty engine already. And the left engine was working, but somehow they cut off the supply of the fuel to that engine too. And then Boeing 787 takes about 40 to 60 seconds to get restarted, unless they did it very quickly, but it doesn't appear so, because there were so many warning lights coming out in the cockpit that they had to, to say the worst words what a pilot could say, embrace for impact. And they went into the ground with 242 passengers and then 34 on the ground. So Is it a pilot mistake? Is it the Boeing's mistake? Is it the Air India's mistake? I would blame Air India and the ground staff that made those pilots pressurized and let them fly with a faulty aircraft to such a long route, about 9 hours, and all the aviation industry, the law is that if you have a flight over 8 hours, you should have a substitute of 2 officers, captains, or the first officers in the cockpit, so that they should make ships. This is the law. But there were only 2 pilots, as we know very clearly now, and both the pilots, hats off to them, that they managed to take off under these worst conditions, high temperature, and with 1/4 of the other engine working. Now, why I'm saying 1/4 of the other engine was working, I can give up some data, and then you can decide whether it's right or not. Once the aircraft took off, you can clearly see a huge gust of wind appears on the left side of the runway. Now, that means that it used all the runway and it took off. But if the thrust was coming out of one engine with that strong power, then the gust is only on the left side, nothing is on the right side. And you could see that this gust of wind is moving towards the left side of the screen and stays there for a very long time, but you can't see anything coming from the right side. So it's not that we can't see the right side, it's just the wind, the dust was not present on the right side. So either it was fully non-functional right engine, and again, they said that they recently replaced with the new engine. No, in India, what happens is the minimum equipment list. For example, if the right engine was not working and it requires some work to be done, you have to do it within 10 days. So there are 3 levels, right? Right away, 3 days, and 10 days. So what they do is that they replace, on the day 10, they replace that thing with another aircraft thing. So now this aircraft is clear to fly, right? Because the problem has been solved. But then that engine goes to another aircraft, and that pilot flies that one and then reports it back, and then again 10 days restriction, and after 10 days they replace it with another one, and then another one, and then that cycle goes back until a disaster happens like this. So the engine they changed was not new. The engine they changed was from another aircraft. And how faulty was that? We don't know. We would see the report, what it's going to say, because brand new engines do not flame out, at least for Boeing 787-8. So this minimum equipment list, this faulty engine, was not producing enough thrust, but they required that thrust to take off with 195 tons of load, and with 37 to 41 degrees Celsius of the temperature. Under those conditions, they needed whatever thrust it was giving in the beginning, and that's why they used the whole runway, about 2,700 meters of the runway, and they took off. Normally it takes less than 2,000 meters for Boeing 787 under these weather conditions, under these winds and the temperature. It can take off easily at around 2,000 meters, but this one took 26 plus. And that's also based on the calculations from the engine capacity and the engine's power, plus the winds, plus the temperature, plus the density, altitude. If you calculate all of these things, it did take off. And that's why we see that it was on the left side of the runway, because if right engine is faulty, not working fully, the aircraft tends to go towards right. So the pilot already lined up on the left side of the runway, and it took off from the left side of the runway. We could see very clearly that's why the gust of the wind was also on the left side, although the right side, the dust should also be there, but it wasn't there. It can't happen. The engines produce thrust. But anyhow, so once it went up into the air, now I think when all these lights went out, they panicked and they didn't initiate the. They should have waited. I think. Okay, this is my theory. They should have waited at least until 400 to 800 feet above ground level, and then it should have initiated their whatever sequence is of shutting down the faulty engine and turning off the fuel switch, which, I mean, they tried to get the gears up, and gears didn't go up, right? Because of now who knows why the gears didn't go up? We don't know. And they tried to, you know, get the power on probably on the to have it restarted. So, but all these actions were performed on the working engine, and that's why it collapsed. And all of a sudden, we see it just went down and crashed into the college. So once the left engine stopped to work. Now, why I say the right engine was partially working, because the glide ratio of this aircraft under dirty configuration, which is flaps down, gears down, and allegedly the wrap was also deployed with too much drag on the aircraft. This aircraft in dirty configuration has the glide ratio of 3.5 to 1. For every 1 foot, it loses 3.5 feet. So, well, it goes in this, so it's coming down for 1 foot, it would have traveled 3.5 foot ahead. But this aircraft, if the correct engine, the working engine was cut off, that means total flame out, total dual engine, not dual engine failure, one engine completely shut down now, but the other had that much power that it gave out a glide ratio of 17 to 1. So this plane getting up to 303 feet, which is 101 meters, it traveled in this direction for about 1.7 kilometers, and then it crashed. Otherwise, it should have crashed within 300 meters, keeping that configuration with dual engine failure. But one engine was giving it power, and it went all the way till there. So my heart goes out for the families who lost their beloved ones, and especially I would definitely give a huge applaud to the pilots who did try to do whatever they could do under those conditions. But some days the things just do not go in your favor. So that's all from my side for today. Just a quick update. Thank you very much for watching. Allah Hafiz.